everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much. I'm glad you found me. I want to encourage everybody to click the bell for notifications on when I post new things, the subscribe button, and of course the like button. So let's get into today's video. Today it is a beautiful morning. It's going to heat up here in my Zone 6 garden in mid-Missouri, but it is the middle of August. So that means it is time for another monthly walkabout. What I'm hoping to share with you all today is, kind of how things are looking at this time of the year. In my Zone 6 garden here in mid-Missouri, I have a very long growing season. I can start spring crops in March, and I can grow hot weather crops up until the first frost, which for us is usually middle of October, early October. So I've got a long growing season. I'm going to share with you today some tips and tricks to keep your plants growing and healthy all those many months. And you're going to hear me say fertilizer probably more than once. It is absolutely essential when you're growing things, whether it would be herbs and vegetables or cut flowers or any kind of beautiful shrubs and perennials. They need some food if they're going to perform for you all season long. I also am going to show you some things I've learned. Every year I learn so much. That's part of the beauty of gardening, is it's just an ongoing learning process. And so by doing these walkabouts and taking my, camera around, I can really sort of analyze my garden at different points of the year. I can figure out what's doing well during this month, what's not doing so well, and what I might want to change up for next year. And so you don't have to have a YouTube channel. You don't even have to videotape, but most of you probably have smartphones with cameras in them. So I'm going to really encourage you to be, somebody that studies your own garden, and occasionally take your phone out and walk around, whether you've got a little tiny garden or, a large property. Walk around, use your camera to notice what's happening and how things have grown in. You're going to see in just a little bit when I show you my north side of the house, that bed that has perennials and annuals and some shrubs. I've discovered some things about growth rates. So next year I'm going to use this information that I'm filming today, and next year I'm going to change it up. I'm going to plant some coleus that I love in a different spot to fill in spaces. So anyhow, yeah, it's going to be just pretty casual. I'm going to grab the camera and we're going to just take a walk around the property. We're going to see my perennial beds, my annuals, maybe some of my pots that I potted up with beautiful annuals, and for sure we're going to get in my raised bed garden and check out what is growing in mid-August in terms of veggies and herbs and cut flowers. So let's go. So I've already donned the sunglasses because the sun's out and it's already humid. It's going to be close to probably 90 today. And we've had a lot of rain recently, which I love for the garden. There's nothing like regular rainwater for any of your plants. So I'm grateful for that. But boy, when it rains a lot like it has this week and then it gets hot and the sun comes out, it's just like a sauna out here. But you know what? You all are experiencing that, I'm sure. Many of you grow in a similar zone to mine and climate that's hot and humid in the summer. So anyhow, yeah, let's look at the north side of the house. All right, so the sun's come out, and unfortunately that really kind of makes it harder to see things. But here's one of my beautiful containers with coleus and double up pink begonia. Uh, Love and life on the north side of the house. Gets a tiny bit of sun in the morning, as you can see, just barely. And then it's shaded most of the day. But then actually this is considered west. And so the sun does come in and hit both of these planters in the late afternoon, just for about an hour or so. So it is loving life in the shade. So let's come down here. Now, be kind. Don't look too close at the weeds, because Wednesday is my weeding day. I do certain tasks each day of the week, and I did not get out and weed this week because on Wednesday we had torrential downpours. But I think things are very happy here. This is a good example of taking a look at your garden, like I mentioned, and maybe taking pictures or videos and then using that information to decide what you might do the same or different in the next year. So let me give you a great example. So over here, I've got my beautiful hydrangeas. These are a quick, oh gosh, I always forget. Little Lime Punch. There we go. And they are doing absolutely spectacular. You know, the beauty of Little Lime Punch is look at the color variation. They first come out lime, then they turn a creamy white, then they put on a little pink, and then they get even darker and punchy as the weather cools down. So they are really loving this spot. So even though this is the north side of my house, this juts out far enough that they get more sun. You know, they certainly don't get full shade. But back to what I was really talking about making some changes. So what I did was I planted some Supertunia mini vistas in between, and look at this mini vista over here. This little mini vista, let me pull this awful weed out of the way. It got gobbled up. So I need to think about that for next year, that if I'm going to want to see as much of this beautiful mini vista as I am this one, I'm going to need to move it out closer to the edge. What's gobbling it up, and I'm perfectly fine with that, are these gorgeous coleus. These are 3 coleus that I planted, and they absolutely are thriving in this spot. There's a little brunnera, and there's some more coleus that I just planted. These are just like cuttings from coleus. I just planted those maybe 3 weeks ago. So anyhow, what I'm going to do differently is I'm probably going to only put 2 big coleus back there because these are enormous. And then I didn't realize, but what I'd love to end up doing, see this ugly AC unit, I'm going to put some coleus back here next year and behind these 2 hostas, because I'd love to cover up some of that wall space. And these coleus get enormous. So I'm going to try to, next year, learn from what happened this year and know that if I put some coleus all the way behind up against the house, I think that's going to really be beautiful. And they love it here on the north side of the house. Work our way down and around to the east side of the house. And again, I didn't get a lot of my regular garden chores done, including Thursday is when I do trimming, and Tuesdays are trimming Tuesdays, and Thursdays are also where I trim or prune. And this buddleia has performed really, really well. Let me see if I can get myself out of the... This is Miss Molly Buddleia. She's a great performer, but as you can see, these are spent. So I need to come in here and trim off. When you trim off the spent blooms on Buddleia or any other kind of shrub or flowering perennial, that's going to encourage them to produce more flowers and flush out. So anyhow, let's just move around. So this is my problem bed. You've been with me, those of you who watch my channel, you know that this is my bed that's really given me a real run for my money, in that it holds so much water, so much moisture, and I don't know really how to resolve it. I'm going to think on it over winter. But anyhow, what's in this bed are Limelight Prime hydrangeas. I just planted them in May, I guess. So this is just their first year. They get about 5 to 6 foot tall. So they're just babies, but they're doing okay. You know, they've had some yellowing on some of the leaves that have concerned me a bit, but then, you know, the leaves seem to go away and the green ones come in. So you can see that beautiful bloom. It's getting a hint of pink. This one over here is just starting to bloom. Isn't that funny? I have no clue why, but this one started blooming first, then this one, and now this one, the little engine that could, it's catching up. Just got some salvia here. I had a lot of other things. Let me keep making a shadow. I had a lot of other annuals that I grew from seed planted here, but it was just too darn wet. In fact, the Supertunia Vista bubblegum that I just showed you, 2 of those plants, I had 4 of them in here, and it just was too wet for them. And so I've relocated them and they like their new home a lot better. Of course, you know, if you've seen, I posted a recent video, an update on all of my containers. Look at that gorgeous, massive coleus. Those are 3 coleus plants in a big, beautiful pot. They love the east side of the house. Got this aquapot light, self-watering, big, beautiful pot here on this little porch, our little concrete patio, and it's got some, of course, purple fountain grass in there and some beautiful maverick geraniums that I grew from seed. They love it here. And I recently added some ivy for the spiller. You know, the rule of thumb for a lot of people when they're designing their pots is you want to have a thriller. So that's something big in the center. You want to have filler, something a little lower like these geraniums. And it's nice to have what they call spillers. And that would be something that spills over the edge of the pot. Okay, yeah. Here we are still on the east side of the house. This awful retaining wall. Oh, I need to find some things that are taller that are going to cover all that concrete. It really drives me a little bit crazy. But our property has such little shade that when we first moved in here, they did have a few hostas and we just added to that. So, you know, the hostas are a little crispy on some of them. I need to get in there and do some trimming and cleaning up. But as I said, it's been raining off and on all week here, so I haven't been able to do my regular garden chores. But what I want to do is, if you can see right here, this space, and this is the tallest part of the retaining wall that's exposed, I want to plant something in the spring that is, you know, that gets about 5 foot tall that will fill in at least this space. So if you guys have any recommendations, remember this is east facing, that's south. The retaining wall is going to provide some shade. So if you can think of a flowering shrub or perennial that doesn't get enormous, but that I could put right in this corner and get that darn concrete covered up, that would be amazing. So please, please share your ideas in the comments below. Let's go around here at the end, the point of the retaining wall, and you can see, you ought to see some big patches of pink, and those are my Supertunia bubblegum, Supertunia Vista bubblegums that were over there in my trouble bed that's so wet. I took them and relocated them over here about 3 weeks ago, and they looked like they were on their last leg, but boy, oh boy, they are happy campers. So they're filling in this little end beautifully. And if I zoom in, the perennial you see right here in between is spiderwort with these gorgeous purple blooms. You see all the dew on the plants this morning. Okay. All right, so here we are coming around this beautiful tulip magnolia, Leonard Messel. This is actually west facing. And as you can see, it's kind of meh, not a lot of color here. And there's a reason for that. Initially, when we put in these shrubs and some of the perennials, the intention wasn't to get a lot of flower power. And you can see I achieved that goal. There's not, but I really want more flower power. But these beds are so narrow and they have landscaping fabric underneath, which is a dreaded thing for a lot of us who like to grow flowers because it's very hard to move the landscape fabric out of the way and get things planted. But anyhow, I don't know. That's what winters are for. They're for me to plan and dream about how I can create more flower power in the front of the house. And eventually, those of you who have been on my channel, you know that eventually we're going to pull this concrete out and create much deeper flower beds so that I can add flower power. And then of course just the front porch, but you know, my pots are loving it. I've got that beautiful Sweet Caroline Medusa, I think, potato vine. I've given it a trim because it was all the way down to the ground. Prolific, very vigorous grower, and my lovely classic dragon wing begonias. Always, always a favorite. My Jack Manny clematis is, you know, it's doing okay. It's cooled off slightly here, so finally I've got some blooms. But what is concerning me are my two beautiful rose towers. Do you see these obelisks? These are the famous David Austin Gertrude Jekyll rose, and they were glorious in the month of May. I mean, their first flush, they were just absolutely covering this obelisk. However, since then, they've just sputtered and not done much at all. I mean, I can only see a few buds. They're growing, there's new growth, but usually they pump out some flowers, off and on through summer. So I am hoping when things cool off, if they ever do here in mid-Missouri, I'm hoping maybe come September when the weather cools down, roses like things a little bit cooler. So maybe I'll get a big, beautiful end of the season flush of pink, fragrant heirloom roses. So I thought we'd head down to the raised bed garden and I'll show you all what is currently happening with my veggies and herbs and some of my cut flowers. Let's take a little tour of my raised bed garden. And one of my favorites right here in the front are my beautiful nasturtiums, edible flowers that are so fun to decorate plates and platters with. I grow these actually year round in the greenhouse, but they are loving it out here. So let's look at this first bed. Tomatoes. It's mid-August. They've been going hard since the first week of May, and I would say I've probably got a couple of weeks left. Maybe some of these indeterminates, they'll be pumping out some tomatoes for the next month or so. I've got loads of cherry. Oh, 2 Super Sweet 100 cherry tomato plants. They are big, big producers. And I'm going to actually try something I saw online. I'm going to do this later today or tomorrow, and I might bring you guys along. I am going to harvest all these cherry tomatoes, and I am going to dehydrate them, and then I'm going to store them in olive oil in glass jars, like sun-dried tomatoes, which you pay a premium for at the store. I'm going to try that, always experimenting. I tell you what, this is one, talk about keeping a journal by videotaping your garden. This is not ripe all the way, but this is a Kellogg breakfast tomato from Baker Creek seed, and I will 100% grow that again next year. There's not very many of them left, but it was a huge producer for me. This bed has some pepper plants that are still going really strong. And again, I have learned that I will for sure grow the lunchbox variety. These are orange and these are red when they're ripe. Let's see if I can find a red one down here for you all to see. There's a red one right in there. Yeah, absolutely delicious. They're just a little tiny, small, mild peppers. They just grew so great for me this year. So they'll be on my list for next year. I've got lemongrass in the center. I haven't harvested any yet. I probably will start looking at that in about a couple of weeks. But I threw in some zinnias, and these are the beautiful Senorita variety. I've got so many things bursting to life out here that you better believe after I film the garden tour, I will be coming out with my harvest basket and my nippers and harvesting a lot of the flowers that are currently in bloom. You can tell it's middle August. They're tired. Check out those tomato plants. Oh my goodness. There's some fruit left, but not a lot. But my all-time favorite tomato, for sure, and I grow it every year and I'll continue, is Cherokee Purple. It's considered an heirloom variety. It tastes like the old-timey tomatoes. The flavor is just out of this world. And so I have been doing what is sort of becoming popular in terms of harvesting your tomatoes when they're at the breaker stage. And that means when you see color on this end, not the stem end, but on this end, you can cut those, bring them in your house, and have delicious tomatoes and just let them ripen naturally. So yeah, looking kind of rough. This is the reality of a gardening where I do. One of the things I do want to mention that I have learned, but I didn't follow my own advice, and that is when you're growing tomatoes, for the best production and health of your plants, you really need to do crop rotation, which means this plant has grown here this year. It needs to not come back to this spot to grow again for another 3 or 4 years. So I am going to formulate a plan on how to make sure next year none of my tomatoes will be in these beds. They're going to be in a new location, and I'm going to try my best to rotate those crops. Because all right, so on my little arch trellis, you know, I've got beautiful black-eyed Susan vine Thunbergia growing, and isn't that just precious? Look at those. They're just going up and up and up. They really love this site. I have green beans in between, so let's see. I've got plenty of green beans, and again, after I film this video, I will be for sure coming out and harvesting lots of veggies and flowers. And let me swing around here and get my shadow out of the way. And here's another Thunbergia, black-eyed Susan vine, but this produces these beautiful lemony yellow flowers with the dark throat. Just adds a little more beauty to the climbing trellis. All right, on this side of the trellis, you know, I've got the green beans here I just showed you. On this side, I've got some cucumber. And look, this cucumber plant's trying to become friends with the green bean plant. But no, 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 we don't want that. You need to stay on your side. So, you know, you just come in and do like that. And in no time, that cucumber plant will grab onto the trellis and grow. So here we go. See? So you see this cucumber vine? I need to get it trained up and up and up. And so just very gently wind that baby around and the supports, and it will grab on this little tendril here. It's going to grab onto this in no time and work its way up the trellis. So yeah, so I've got cucumbers in this bed. I've got chives on either end. You saw me plant those. And I don't know what happened, but I'm trying to grow sugar snap peas for fall. And look, my germination. Here's one, and here's a little tiny one. And I planted 2 seeds, like here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and I think even 2 there. And I got 3 things to germinate. Oh, I even planted some on the ends. Let's check it out. Do you see any new sugar snap peas trying to grow there? I see nothing, and I probably put 4 seeds down there. What in the world? Well, that's a big disappointment. It's part of gardening. I don't see any sugar snap pea trying to sprout from here. Oh well. In this little bed, I've got the 3 dahlias. These are my little slow pokes. I don't know. I'm not sure that they're ever going to do anything. Honestly, they were little teeny tiny tubers that I planted in May and wasn't really sure that they were going to do anything, even though I pre-sprouted them, so I knew they were viable. But I mean, this is maybe only a foot tall. Like most dahlias get 4 to 5 feet tall. Some are smaller. This one's doing the best right here, but you know, I don't know. I don't see any buds. So we'll see if I get any flowers. Over here, we've got green onions and leeks. And one of the things I'm learning, I've never grown leeks before, and I need to get out here and do this, is you're supposed to, as the leek grows, like this white part here, you're supposed to hill up more soil around the base. And I started doing that when they were younger. I need to get out here and see if I can. And hilling up just means, you know, of course this is mostly mulch, but that you pull up more dirt around the stems of your leeks. So anyhow, I need to take care of that for sure. All right, down here I've got a box of miscellaneous. I've got Jerome. Good morning, Jerome. I've got my zinnias, and this year I tried Florette's precious metals variety. They're growing on me. They're not my favorite. You know, they're this muted pale pinks and pale apricot um, flowers, as you can see. You know, they're okay. I'm not sure I'll grow that variety next year, but that's the beauty of seeds. It's like, wow, you know, they're not horribly expensive, and you can try new varieties every year. On this side of that same bed where the zinnias are growing, I've got a lot of carrots, and I took you along, and I've harvested plenty of carrots, but there's lots more. And rumor has it, if you leave your carrots in when the weather starts to cool in the early fall, the carrots get sweeter and sweeter. So that's what I'm hoping. And I popped in some extra pepper plants here. Got lots of peppers on this one. This is a Cubanelle red pepper. This is a yellow bell. Look at that. That one looks about ready for harvest. And what's this one? Oh, this is purple bell. Now it has peppers on it. I've already harvested some peppers off of this, but they get big like the yellow one, but they're purple. Last bed to share with you, of course, are my beautiful dahlias. I've got 6 dahlias in this bed, all from tubers that I overwinter inside my house in a little dorm-sized fridge. And they're just stunners. I mean, how can you not like that? They're just gorgeous. I have harvested so many of these beauties this year, and they just make the best floral arrangements. I mean, look. Oh, let's just stop here for a moment. Just lovely. I've decided already, I'm going to order some more Swan Island tubers. I've not ordered any for a couple, 3 years, just using my own, but I'm ready for some new varieties. So Swan Island, I'll link it in the description below. They have lots and lots of bundles, actually, where you can buy 10 different tubers for a discounted rate. So I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Last stop on the tour. Can't leave my raised bed garden without showing you my fun new addition this year, and that would be my vertical garden by Green Stalk. If you haven't tried vertical gardening, you need to just check this out. I mean, look at these sugar rush peppers on the bottom. They are doing great. Let me spin this baby around. Ooh, look, I've got more peppers. These are the lunchbox varieties, the little red ones that I mentioned earlier. I mean, you can grow peppers, you can grow strawberries, like I was really intending this for, mostly for strawberries. I will say on the strawberries, these are everbearing, which means they grow and produce strawberries all season long, but they're so small. So I want to get my hand on Seascape. I keep seeing YouTubers promote Seascape. They make much bigger berries. So yeah, I need to get a hold of those, and I don't know if they sell them where I live, but I'm going to be looking for Seascape strawberries next year. Loves the spot parsley, loads of parsley. I use a lot of parsley in cooking. So I've had a great parsley harvest. These are chives. And then I popped in some nasturtiums, but a different variety. Let me see if I can find one that's flowering. The Alaska series. Where are my flowering nasturtiums? Come on. Oh, here's one. Look at that. You see that beautiful red flower? And look at the variegated leaves. Nasturtiums love it here too. So I can't say enough great things about these vertical gardens. If you have a small space, wow, wow, wow. I wish they had these when I was a new gardener living in a little townhouse and had no place to grow anything. Well, that's going to do it for today's August walkabout in my Zone 6B Mid-Missouri garden. I hope you enjoyed what I shared with you all today. You know, how things are looking in the dog days of summer. It is mid-August. It is hot. It is humid. I'm standing in the shade for a reason because it's only 9:30 in the morning and it's already, whoo, gonna be steamy today. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I sure enjoyed having you along with me. And I'm hoping more than anything that you'll be encouraged to get out your phone, your smartphone, and walk around your garden and take either photos or video of what's growing. Do that on a regular basis. And then you can use those photos or those videos to help you decide and think about, okay, what worked well, what didn't work well, where you might plant things next year. That's what I love to do. And that's what I do a lot of times in the winter when I can't be out here harvesting beautiful vegetables and flowers. I'm inside planning and dreaming about the next gardening season. So if you enjoyed today's video, again, I'm going to ask you to like, subscribe, and click the notifications bell. And as always, happy gardening.